Good evening, good morning, good day, good night. You're listening to Bongversations, episode number 31. On the 27th of April, 2025, and Dave's on the 26th of April at this present stage. And we're going to be talking some very interesting stuff to do with thought forms, the book by Annie Bassett and CW ledbetter, cymatics, and all sorts of things. So, Dave, welcome to Bongversations, episode 31.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Rick, you had sent this book, and this is one that was first printed in 1901. So, and you were pointing out the 9/11 code, obviously, right within the perfect. And so these are the this would be what you would call a foundational treatise for the Theosophists.
Yep.
This book. And
big time.
Oh yeah. So at the very beginning, you'll notice that there's some tiles, some colored tiles, and I'll put this in the YouTube version of the video. But there's some colored tiles arranged in a 5x5, what's called a magic square, and each color tile is given a power or an aspect or an emotion. And this is quite interesting in that if you look at the magic square, and I put one up in the Discord chat, and I'll also put it in the video just so you can see, is that a magic square has a constant. All magic squares have a constant, and that for this example, it's going to be 65, which is of course the 11. And yeah, guess what? Just like we talked about, if you push those the bottoms together, you make the idea of the V, which is the 5, or the senses, because it also takes 1 through 25 in order to fill up a magic square of 5x5. So that is, again, your 7 code, or the idea
of
a
drink.
mind. Yeah, have a drink.
A quick drink.
Guzzle it up. Yeah, 7. So then, how to read this chart? Because of all the different Antichrist type organizations, the Theosophists are the closest to being correct. You know, you have the atheists that don't know their
anything,
A from their A, and then and the rest of them. So these guys, what a lot of this you can look at and say, I can explain it to you from above and tell you what they actually were missing, because they were still looking. They could see it, but they didn't know what it actually truly meant, or how to put it together. So then if you take a 5x5 square, there's certain colors involved. And before we get to colors, remember in the Severance episode we talked about last week, when they were getting ready to put the sine waves together to actually bring the break down the partition of the mind to bring the split mind back together, meaning that the lost man or the prodigal son idea, the prodigal son comes home and comes back to his senses, right? So then once that partition's removed, and then you also saw it was designed as showing you wires, and also beta and theta and gamma waves, thinking of sine waves or brain waves, or thought waves, or thought patterns, much like this book.
Thought forms,
and so that's what it was trying to put two together, overlay them, which in, let's say, semiconductor, and how you build read-write heads or any actual semiconductor it's through a process of overlay. And if the overlay is off, the product of course is going to be scrapped. So the overlay is quite important, and that also goes into the idea of image, made in the image of, and we talked about that last week. So if people want to go back, that's this is really just a continuation of that.
It's actually worked out really just by weird coincidence. I sent that thing into your page, and now we're talking about something that's extremely relevant to the last show, as usual.
Yeah. So, man, I was thinking when I saw this, I was like, well, we're going to, because we were talking with Jim over there, and he was putting up some of his paintings. And with the idea of pigments, you're dealing with a subtractive medium. to where one color mixes with another, and then you get to a point of muddy brown or gray. Now, what we're gonna so that's the in the physical space, the painted image. Now let's talk about the additive side. Remember, I told you that sine wave can either have interference, and it can be additive or it can be subtractive. So if you take away in pigment, that's one way. But let's now look at the additive side or the light side. So if you look at those colored tiles in the
Blue,
that they
purple, blue,
yep. So
blue,
you have
purple, blue, some strange greeny blue,
mm-hmm.
greeny, yellow, orange, amber, red,
Mm-hmm.
pale green, a kind of a purple,
Right.
pink. Yeah, another one that I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was. You'd be able to, but
Well,
you can see them.
Yeah, I'll show you kind of how to like. Now, I'm glad you're doing that, because now if you look at the additive light, you're combining red, blue, and green, and that creates white, because we're talking about light now.
Yep.
And if you add yellow, which is red and green, it will give it the shift towards a warmer hue. Now, a light that's considered warmer is going to be 2700 K to 3000 K. The idea of Kelvin, because it gives you that more kind of yellow light. And then if you go to 4000 K or 6500 K, you're going to have like that more bluish light coming from light bulbs. You kind of know the difference, right? You can get
Yep.
one that's considered warm. Well, with that, if you now look at those tiles, you just simply look at the tiles that say, okay, let me find the ones that look blue. Where you can say, okay, at quick glance, I see 4 that look blue. Well, one's purple, it's out. Now there's 3. And now there's one that's kind of too white to be blue, so it's out. Now you have 2. And now of those 2 that left, the 2 that are left, I see the on row 2, I see the first one, which is a religious feeling tinged with fear, and the other one I see is blue, which is a pure religious feeling, and I see those as exact opposites. So you
Yep.
have the one who knows, who is pure, and the religious in this idea of feeling is not feeling but knowing. So then you have the idea of the pure law. That's because
Yep.
blue is also the idea of law. Now then on the other blue, which is the same but opposite, you have a religious feeling tinged with fear. That's the atheist, that's the malcontents. That's all those that have this a personal gospel that they're following religiously. They think that they got it, that they're it, but they can't give you the end result because of the fear factor, because they're worried about what? Death.
Yeah.
You see, now that's the law, because they claim they're under that law. They, by their own mouth, they have put themselves under that curse. So then they're like, so you see how that's the opposite. So now blue's taken care of. Now we need to look at red. Red, you see there's at least 5 on there that can be red, but by the time you say, okay, what one's more orange? Well, one of them drops out. What one's more kind of purple, almost whitish? Almost 2 drop out. And then you get left with really only 2 again that are kind of red. The 5th row in the middle, and then the 3rd row at the very end. So I'll just tell you that that's anger, and then
Pride.
and pure, pride or pure, see now look at pride, and now ask yourself if that's more orange than red.
Kind of it is.
Look,
To me, it's more orange. Yeah.
yeah. So go to the one below it. Is that more red?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's pure affection. So that's how you kind of train your eyes. So like the middle one at the bottom, the middle one. So you kind of find what the powers in of those squares, and you best kind of triangulate what the magic square, or what the painting, or what the presentation's trying to offer you. So you kind of just test yourself. You talk yourself out. Is that really red? No, that other one's actually redder. So then you say, okay,
Yeah.
and then that's pure affection and anger. That's another kind of opposite idea. Now you look at this whole thing and you look at the one, because you have to put red, blue, green. So there's really only one that's kind of green, and that's the 30, the one on row 3 and number 1. The one below it's a little bit more avocado-ish. It's
Khaki,
not,
or
yeah,
avocado. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Yep.
So then 3 is sympathy. Now, sympathy is interesting because that is what is used as well as fear to get people to fall for false and hoax stories in this realm, in this place.
Yep.
It gets them concerned to the point that they do nothing about it. Do you see? It's like they get
Yep.
their emotional body, their emotional expenditure is complete without their physical body actually ever lifting a finger. So they exercise their body for no reason in a negative
Yep.
form, which is why they're going to have a sympathetic reflex, and that's some sort of body ailment, because they've stressed their body beyond their body's need to actually do anything. And it's all a spiritual type of corruption, which can be easily changed by changing their mind. And
Isn't it?
and yeah, and answering the call of Christ. But go ahead.
Isn't it interesting? You've got Bezos's, farcical
Yeah.
rocket with blue origin, and you
Uh-huh.
look at the blue. The very first blue is high spirituality. The second one is devotion to a noble ideal,
Ideal, yeah.
and the third one is puce religious. Is it
Pure religious
feeling? Pure
Yeah.
religious feeling. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, so therefore, that's why they're using blue. So there's
Yeah.
this rocket's going up, and you're seeing this religious thing
Yeah.
for the atheists out there. The people aren't aware of what's being conned to them and what's being told to them. Yeah. So that explains the whole why
The
they use
spiritual
blue.
astronauts.
The spiritual liars and
Astronauts.
Yeah. But so all blues are all to do with religious and high ideals.
And law, because the religious is the idea of the law. So then that's why Jesus says, "I've come to fulfill the law." So then but then the law in this realm is Johnny Blue.
Yeah.
The law is tap, papers. That's what's been conned, or what that is what in the hellscape law is. It's because so this is always an inspection of opposites. So for each one of these tiles, you're looking at the positive and the negative. The positive can only be reached through a source of truth, and for me that's my Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore everything is then reflected that way. So then let's finish the additive colors we were talking about for light. What's missing? We haven't added yet the yellow back, although, and if you remember, yellow is already red and green, but when you add yellow to an additive light, you're just going to it's going to tend to look or react more or warmer. So it's going to have that more yellowish tone. So then if you look at the only one that's there is the strong intellect. Now listen to this, but you've added that to the other ones, and now you've created white. Now look for the only space that's blank, and that's number 2, and that's highest intellect. That's as high as you can go. Now that's the pinnacle. Now that's talking about the crown. That's 22, that to the head, the 4, the dalet, the doorway into one's noggin. What happens? What is placed in one's noggin, one's mind? 7 or dalet. That's 7 or Zion. So one Zion returned to Zion through the door. So they allow through their dalet, their mind, which is this highest intellect, and that's that pure white space, the light. But then what light is that from? Because it's going to be one of two places, one of two sources. The Spirit of Christ or the mind of Christ, or the light or the Lucifer of this world.
Lucifer,
These are the
lumens,
theosophists.
lumens, light, halo, howl, all these things are all into your for sure.
Yeah, for sure,
Yep.
man. So yeah, and then Lumen dealing with we were just talking about last week's show.
Severance.
Severance,
Yep.
the Lumen, the character, and then so you see that with this magic square, by colors and uses of colors in screens with intent, you can then mold or subject someone's mind to manipulation or change.
Yep. Isn't it? I'll tell you what, the
yeah.
one thing that stands out to me is the black, and it's malice. And what is the law book that all lawyers study is Black's Law? Black's Law, that's the book they all get their stuff from. So it's malice, straight out. They're telling you with the name of that book. Yeah, sorry,
well,
keep going.
That's why it says actually in the book, it says don't steer clear of the courts. Settle with somebody before you even get involved with that organization. Because that's all
straight out malice.
Yeah,
it's all straight out malice.
Yeah, it's a pit of darkness for sure. So then I was looking at the different type of waves and how musical pitch and sound, and of course this gets into the 440 and then the 432.
432.
And of course the Nazis aren't too far behind. As soon as somebody starts talking about, they'll say, well, back in 1939 then them Nazis changed everything, and and of course, but then you also got the BBC in 1939 who's also moving towards this 440 as being the tuning
the tone,
for today.
The new tone for today, which was what we got in whatever era it came through. Yeah,
it's
for sure.
tuned. So it's tuned to the A above the middle C is what that's talking about at that's 440. It, yeah. So then, here's what I find interesting about that is that when I listen to 440 or I listen to 432, and I'm going to bring up a different one in a minute. Actually, 528 hertz. When I listen to it, 440 sounds like it's right behind my eyes, meaning that it's almost like a blinder. So if you're listening to something at 440, in your head, you hear it right behind your eyes, so you can't think of nothing else. It's like you're blah blah blah. You're like, it's like you're echoing your mouth and the words. So it's like, dude, you're really but I noticed that with 432, it moves. My perception of the sounds manifestation moves to below my eye level and towards the middle of my head. All right.
Interesting. More to the gland that creates our thoughts or whatever.
I found that interesting because I was able to look over it, meaning that I could hear it, but I wasn't enveloped in it. I could hear it and listen to it, but I wasn't controlled by it. Yeah, I found that interesting. And then with
so your mind was still open. Your mind was still open. It wasn't quite,
Yeah, it wasn't fully flooded. And then when I tried it with 528, and I'll tell you why this is important. The 528 hertz, I noticed, and that's just the 528 is tied in with what's called the love frequency. Now, I remember, and what I saw, and I saw this guy, I had looked into love frequency earlier, and I noticed that Dr. Lynn Horowitz, it's always one of them, is running around with a tie-dye shirt talking about this love frequency. And I said, man, I know Dr. Lynn Horowitz. He's the same cat who was running around in the late 90s trying to scare people with a book called Viruses and Emerging something or other.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, got you.
Do you remember? So now he's just changed his game, his con. But that aside, what the 528 hertz frequency, I noticed that it dropped, let's say instead of straight back and then down like the 432, it moved to the right slightly, to my perception. And what that is tied to, Rick, is the 528 hertz is tied. You have like the Schumann's resonance, which is
Resonance,
8
yeah, yep.
hertz, which is
8,
8 hertz, and then you have combinations of 8. So if you do combinations of 8 56 times, you get 528. And then that's tied in with the tone that NASA and other organizations give to the planet, quote unquote, the light, the star, or the light in the sky that's called Saturn. Its frequency is 528. Same with the sun. And do you notice how the sun, the dark hole sun, is the Saturn and the sun,
black hole
the
sun,
black
yeah.
hole sun, because it's also its frequency is 528.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah, and you check this out, and this is why that most of the plane uses the metric system, because in a in real like measuring American style in miles, 5,280 feet is a mile. So 528.
528.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
Has anyone else talked about this before? Because I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Are you the first? But you're certainly hitting it.
Well,
hitting it out of the park.
I just came up with it. So it's just because I'm just keep following this stuff along, basically, because I also notice is that the solfago. I'm not really good with that solfaggio scale.
Solfeggio, yeah.
Which you're dealing with. What is that? Well, not they 9 notes, but they started with 6. So if you look if somebody's some music geek, well, it was only 6, and then it became 9. Well, that's your 69 idea, your Saturn or your Cancer idea.
Interesting. We played that song,
Yeah.
If 6 Was 9, on the
Right.
episode 6 of Bongversations. Be told, guaranteed.
Yeah, yeah. And then 528 is one of the original 6. All right, which I find interesting. So 528. Now, when you listen to 528, that's you're dealing with what's sometimes called chakras.
Yeah.
Now, with chakras, or with you're dealing with aspects of feeling or mind. So with each, and to get back to color, with each so-called hertz, let's say let's go back to 432. Now at 432, you're talking what color is associated with 432? It would be blue-green. So the idea of, think of an ocean.
Yeah.
Or almost like a even on the extreme side of a bluish jadish kind of color, turquoise, especially
Turquoise, yeah.
in certain parts. Now at 440, it's going to be closer to yellow. Now that goes into, remember we talked about adding the yellow and making it seem warmer. That's the when the shift is made to 440, where it's behind your eyes. There's more. There's a brightness that's added. It blinds you in a way.
Do you think this could be tying in with the frequency modulation and the music that we got from the, I guess, early 70s onwards, where the music that you're getting pumped at you in your car when you're trapped in your car, and you've got FM radio on, all those songs that just kept coming out of that frequency was going behind your eyes.
Well, it's going to hide your, yes, a blinder on your eye. What it does, blinding and it blinds you. It's an invisible blind. So then you have, and that's why, radio was given away. Nothing's given away free.
No.
That's I don't need to say anything more. All right. So, and then they make you, once you want it, and once you're like you're tapping your arm, they're like, oh, now we're gonna make you buy it. Just like the dealer. They're like, oh, now we got you hooked on it. Now we're gonna make you pay for it. So then, if now to go to 528, it's linked to green. Now green, and green is when you think of green, think of red, think of blue, think of yellow. Something's going to pop in your head. When the first thing I think of is green, is grass,
Yeah.
grass, and somebody, and then if I think of yellow, I think banana.
Yeah, why not?
Red, apple. Blue, man group. It's whatever is the first thought that comes in your head that's just the color, and then and you see the color. So if I say blue and you say blue, we can share an understanding of truth between each other. We both then agree that is blue or yellow or red.
Yep.
So then that's kind of where that's the self test for this. When anytime you're dealing with talking to somebody about what these different frequencies do, well, it's like, tell me what you feel. What do you witness? And you so just listen to it and compare it at all these different frequencies. And then once you know the colors that are associated them, you can then imagine that color, and then you imagine associations with that color, and then you'll start to see how tones, tunes, and numbers actually move this entire realm, this place.
Oh, everything, yeah. And I don't think there's many people out there as good as you in this particular subject. I'll blow some metaphoric smoke towards your
nice
posterity. So perfect conversation. This is really interesting, Dave. I think this is again the best show we've ever done. Guaranteed.
Oh, awesome, man. We're just I'm just like
you're only 15 minutes in.
I'm already getting pumped up. I'm getting all pumped up because I was looking at the frequencies that were kind of used as well. Like, let's say Mozart was supposedly was originally tuned at 415, right? Then
interesting.
And then so to me it's don't listen to anything that changes your mindset unless that's what you choose to do. It's like you have to do, it's just like taking a shroom or anything else. If you're going to take a song into your head, you have to then prepare yourself to be put into that mindset, because just by what's happening, by the words that are going to be spoken. Because remember, I was talking to you about, like, let's say color numbers. So then, like, red hot or green with envy, or sometimes people will say they're feeling blue or they're tickled pink.
Oh, and it's all through the English language. It's all through our English language. Colors mean things. It's tickled pink, blue with it, green with envy, green with envy.
Or caught red-handed.
Red-handed, yeah.
Or that's a gray area. Liars like words because they can say, "Oh, that's a gray area."
That's a gray area.
Or that was just a white lie. Just a white lie.
A white lie. That's just a white lie. 100%, Dave. On the money. On the money.
Yeah. So, like, I was also thinking, some movies that jumped in my head as far as that were very similar, that used the prop, I want to call it the prop, of wires hanging off the head, which was like Altered States. But that was more kind of using an isolation chamber and going into one's mind, and how I want to say, and I want to go, before we forget, into cymatics before I get too far.
Lawnmower Man, Altered States, and there's a few of them that all have that same imagery.
Yeah, well, remember with Lawnmower Man too.
What color do you think of lawn when you say Lawnmower Man? It's green.
Green, yeah.
Yeah, straight out.
Yeah. So with Lawnmower Man, remember, when he was first getting trained, it was through visual goggles, or like it was, and it was a bunch of sigils getting thrown at him, and magic shapes and squares. So he was learning. Just like you can now look at that tiled, that set of tiles in the beginning of that book, thought forms. Now you have a different, when you see it now, it doesn't mean the same thing it did an hour ago.
No,
Yeah,
no. I'm
yeah,
actually just sitting there reading them because
yeah,
I'm right in front of my face now, and I can see
yeah.
what you're talking about. Mm.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's like the magician's trick. Once you get exposed to what the trick is, it's no longer a trick, and now you can actually see it and observe it and actually describe it to a T instead of just having some vague idea of what it's doing. You're like, no, I can describe it down to the nut and the bolt. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I was there was cymatics, I should say, which is
Yeah,
the
just
idea
talk
of
about them.
which is the idea of like, let's say, copper plates, and if you subject it to a tone of some sort, it will create the tone will create a shape, and that's
Yep,
simply the manifestation of gaps manifesting within the air, or waves. Just like if you throw a stone in the water, in the still water, you'll see waves emanating out from the center. Cymatics is very similar to that when in its manifestation. So it will manifest shapes, and those shapes are the same thing. That's just like with the lawnmower man we were talking about. Those are what's going in your head when you're watching the flashing lights on the TV screen, or
yep.
even listening to it audibly. And that's a tough word, audibly.
Audibly,
Uh,
audibly.
Audibly, yeah, there you go. And then if it, because they're using words to describe the sigils, and words are sigils. We've talked about that. So these sigils, these ideas are being imprinted like cymatically, like just plates, and almost like stars, really. So you have these star falls into your mind all day, every day, if you allow that. And then by the time you process this, it destroys your body, just like with the I thought Videodrome, I want to say, even has that
Oh
as
yeah,
on their cover, on their movie poster. Then it destroys your body. That's just,
that was Cronenberg.
yeah,
Did that one? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Very out there film.
yeah.
Highly recommended. Highly recommended.
Yeah, and that
Watch
that
it.
also deals with the same idea we're talking about. It deals with the idea of the mind being taken over. And
Yep.
also there's a Canadian film. I'm not sure if you saw it. It's a lot of these releases from New World Pictures, Hellraiser, uh,
Yep.
Chud. Did you ever see Chud? Which
I know it. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, cannibalistic,
Yeah.
humanoid underground dwellers. Yeah, and then what was the follow was Bud the Chud.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's kind of all they're all
yeah,
kind of archetypes of
yeah,
ancient legends as well.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
for
So
sure.
so that so that group put out a movie, a Canadian movie, uh, um, uh, David Cronenberg, The Brood.
The Brood, yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
about 19
1979. Yeah,
79. Yeah, just
yeah,
about 1980. Yeah.
1979. And what I found interesting about that is that they had the psychoplasmic induced lymphoma, which was kind of, this person got one of the first patients in during the plot gets a what's called a psychoplasmic induced lymphoma. So they got a physical manifestation of disease through a psychoplasmic induced. That means that their mind brought it into being.
Don't you think that that's actually a
Yeah,
thing, though? Like we
yeah,
have,
we were.
uh,
Yeah, well, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. No, so we'll say the Aboriginal tribes, what about, they had this thing called pointing the bone. Have still, I would say, to this day. You're told you're going to die. That back in those
Right,
the tribal days, these guys are in the middle of the desert, no idea about anything other than the
put the
universe.
hex on
But
them.
if someone put the hex on it, they'll die within 3 months. If someone says, "No, I've cursed you," you will visualize that and bring it into yourself. And I do
Well,
believe
that's
that's a
that is what this psychoplasmic induced idea
yep,
is. That's
yep,
also when
pointing the
people
bone, mm,
point the bone to themselves.
which they
You know?
will at any given time if they read enough media. I'll
Yeah.
just tell you, you've eaten too much of this, you're going to die.
Well, yeah.
Well, guess
Could
what?
you? Oh, go ahead. Could you imagine, Rick? Could you imagine for a moment someone who's sitting in their little hovel right now, sweating every story that's on the boob tube as being real?
Exactly,
Could you imagine
exactly.
that
And
freaking
well, and
miserable life?
you know, your miserable life, you will die because you have
Yeah.
just envisaged all of that stuff. You don't believe in this a pure light, a pure life that can be given to you.
Good
No,
riddance,
you just
man.
think, yeah,
Good
good.
guy. Okay, Pompo.
You know,
Yeah,
and
thanks,
you know
Pompo.
what? You know what, Pompo?
Yeah.
I'm sad to say I'm up there. I'm saying good riddance because you've got to break out of your shell and you know, open up your cocoon and see. This is, you know, this is quite obvious. And these guys that were writing this book, that was 124 years ago. This book came out.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and then the theosophists are like I say, if if you're going to read something from like a heathen type of or kind of like an antichrist point of view, but it's still at least worth your time, the theosophist books are going to be a better choice than any of the black or white witch or
I
the
think
other
so.
occult
Yeah,
books.
I think so because I keep
Yeah,
reading. They go, there's actually a lot of truth in this stuff.
right.
What they're telling you, but as you say, they
Mm-hmm.
themselves they haven't actually put it down to the fact that they've been conned and they
Yeah,
don't actually have an answer afterwards. But they're just giving you they're giving you say 45 to say maybe 70% of the truth. There's a big gap between them and
yeah.
what you're talking about now.
Because the remedy has to be produced. Because it's just like those who like to talk about law in this place or some
Yeah.
sort of rule or logic or what let's say justice, then you have to be able to present a remedy that is fool and foul proof. I have done that. I present it each and every time. What they don't do is present the remedy. They'll tell you all about everything else, but they won't tell you what you have to do to
To fix it.
live.
To
Yeah,
live and to be free, to free
yeah,
yourself from your
yeah.
shackles of, you know, this negative talk, and that's all you're
Right.
getting on the media. All you're
Yeah.
getting on the media. Yep.
So back,
Good.
and so that with the psychoplasmic induced, and this is when now going into even the spiritual. Let's cross it to the spiritual, because if you
Yep.
remember that there was those little dwarf children that were born. They were asexual, colorblind, toothless, and they had no navel, which kind of means that they were born of an egg in a
Yep.
way, like almost like a reptile. Now they were more of demons that the character put out, and that's really the sphere of influence idea. That's the demons you put out. Those are the lies you put out that go then and then connect to other people that you know. So how quickly
Yep.
then within a family group, and then someone in that family gets lied to, they get told a story, then they go to work, and then there's a bunch of Muppets sitting in the break room, and then they start telling them about it. You know, yeah,
Or
that
just go on Facebook. Just go on
yeah,
Facebook, and you can join the giant global
yeah,
rec room that they're sitting
yeah,
there lying to each other about. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so that's how then the social quote unquote virus is spread. That's like in all these movies that talk about the virus and this, that, and the other. The virus is the word, the ill word that's being spread, the lie that's being
Yeah.
spread. That's the virus. Because once somebody believes in it through psychosomatic, induction, they become it. So they then, if they want to convince themselves they got this syndrome or that syndrome, then they can convince themselves into physical manifestation of that through that
Yeah.
psychoplasmic induced
And
process.
interesting that the
Yeah.
placebo effect is basically the opposite. Is what someone
Mhm.
actually goes, oh, actually, I've been told it works, and it does work for them because their mind is opened up and they've gone, you know, they actually believe in
Yeah,
something
both forms of
higher themselves.
deception. Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
forms of
forms. Yeah,
deception. Yeah,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
and so I found that quite interesting with the connections to hurt. So I'm what most people will do at this point is then say, well, how do I use it? Or how do I take what you're saying and use it? Well, what you do is you look into it and you actually have to test it for yourself. Because if you don't know what you're doing, then you shouldn't do it. If just like taking a shroom or anything else, if you don't know where you're going, don't do it. Because if you go out there by yourself, if you go out there without the mind of Christ and the protection of the Lord Jesus Christ, you're going to get attacked by demons. And
thought forms, which are thought forms. A lot of them.
They're thought forms, and that will be just, you're going to be haunted by ideas, by regrets, by X, Y, and Z, by even self-persecution. The ideas so then when you start to look at these different investigations into this place, this realm, and you want to look into mind manipulation, which all this is. Every time you're listening to something, you're manipulating your mind. You're participating in a story or in a cast, a podcast, a newscast, a sports cast. You're allowing yourself to go for that ride. But then when you're out with these different, let's say 963 hertz, which is equivalent to violet or even white light, so maybe a light pinkish violet light, very white, almost translucent. That's a very thin veil. That's 963 hertz. Now, if you then allow yourself to float mentally into that space, you had better know what you're doing. Because there, in all of this place, there is existence. There's creation that lives there, and they're going to come visit you. So don't do anything that you don't want to have a repercussion for, because for every action in this place, there will be a reaction to it. Because you're in a physical existence, and so you have to remember that. But you're not in the physical existence that's being displayed on the TV screen. That's not where you exist. That's only where your mind exists if you choose to be deceived. Because the real world,
it off.
Yeah, the real world is to know where you're at, and you actually can see it plainly, and you'll start to see the V characters. You know, those who are in movies displayed as reptilian. Even with the Brood characters, remember they had no navel, so they were being presented as reptilian type. They are the children of Cain, what I call the children of the corn, the CC, the 33 crowd.
And we'll just bring in, just while we're talking about this, Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, Ms. White Kane, her surname, White Kane, and her good buddy that also is helping her, her surname is Korn, Korn, and that's the corn with a K in front of it, which is the 11 as well, you know, so it's even more powerful. So don't trust Donald Trump. Don't trust Donald Trump.
Well, that's the whole thing, though, Rick. It's like those people are. Once you know that you're the place where you're existing right now today, you can look at the layout of so-called power, and you can identify all of them quite easily as acting. Right? So then all you do then is you have to logically deconstruct. If you have still idols in your mind that any of this power structure is real, you have to then deconstruct those as far back as need be. Because, like I say, there's no corruption that can exist in your temple and have it be ready for the truth to reside.
And remember, your mind is made idle by your idols. It says it's spelled differently, but it means the same thing. That both those words are exactly the same pronunciation.
Absolutely, man. That's a good one, man. I enjoyed that.
Hey, man, this is like. Well,
so wait, let me write that down.
Your mind is made idle. That's IDLE by your IDOLs.
Excellent, man. That's that's brilliant right there. I like that.
Hey, I bounced off you though to get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This like the Bitcoin one that
Yeah.
came from you,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yep. The bit and
Yeah,
coin.
100%. Bitcoin,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So did you have any thoughts on the
Well,
book itself?
I got it from a deceased estate. A friend of mine,
Uh-huh.
really good friend of mine, a very awake guy too, very awake, very spiritual
Uh-huh.
guy. Me and him, just by coincidence, he got a call from someone one day and said, "Oh, can you come and help clear this house out? It's we need to clear it out because and take everything away and
So
throw
you're
it out."
Johnny Depp at this moment,
Yeah,
going to get a book.
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
that
So,
movie. Go ahead.
well, yeah, well, so he rang me up. I said, "I'll be there," and just
Right.
by coincidence, I had the time off, and we got there, and it was an ex. This woman that passed away must have been quite high up with the Theosophists because she
Mm.
had in her collection, I've got them all at my place now. All of the old Theosophy books, a lot of stuff that is just so out there. It's all Adyar, and it all comes from the India, the Madras. That's where they were based. And
Yep.
we found books, clothes, and I took a whole of vintage, really cool. All his shoes have been put in boxes and kept from whatever they were from 1962 or whatever they were. Beautiful clothes and shoes. She died. The house was empty. But I took these books away, and over the years, I've been picking them up, and particularly this one. This is 1967 Thought Form production, and it really opened my mind up to go, hang on, there's something in this book that makes a lot of sense. And it's not until very recently where I've been speaking to you where I've been able to put it all together that, yeah, there's some truth in it, but it's not giving you the actual truth. It's giving you 70, I say 70%.
Well,
I'll
that's
say
speaking of
70%.
70, within this book, if you go to figure number 43, which is called intelligent aspiration, uh, is it's under the chapter or the heading a sevenfold manifestation. That, remember, I told you, it's the seven spirits before throne. If people,
Exactly.
man, if people would just learn the simple seven code, it would save
It's
like a lot of
save an
time.
awful lot. Yeah, exactly,
It would
Dave.
save an
A
awful lot
whole
of
lot of
time
time.
from
An
everybody.
awful lot of time. Just as soon as you see it, look at it and go, shake your head and have a drink if you want to have a drink. And
Yeah, yeah,
guess what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because once you allow yourself to see it, yeah, you won't unsee it, and then it'll just keep popping up, popping up, popping up. So
Mm.
then I was uh, what this also deals with, what we've been talking about tonight, is and where it goes into the Indian idea and Hindu and all that, Buddhist, all that.
This is
Yeah,
where it comes from, and
yeah,
they proudly brag about this in the book. It says where their head base was Madras in India.
yeah.
So
So then,
that's where they're based.
yeah, so you're looking at the well, and also remember what we talked about in the book of Adam and Eve, chapter 18, where the serpent was tossed to the land called India, which is where all this
Exactly.
stuff's. Yeah, and now so you have the so-called standard, yoga pose, and you have the chakras. So
Yep.
then now, guess how many? Seven. Take a drink. Seven chakras. So you have the crown. You have the third eye, which I put. Now listen to the third eye. The third eye is not is just like with colors. If I say third eye, most will immediately think of an eyeball.
Yeah.
Instead of think
Which is
of
the universe.
think of third eye as the third eye, the third me.
Yeah, true.
Now,
Hey, man,
so then
good one.
I see, I do, I think, I feel, I smell, I taste, I hear. Seven, right? So then
Bang.
if then that is your third eye. That, because there's not some magical third eye. You are who you are. So then when Christ makes you whole, you become yourself. You remember who you are, and your mind is made whole. That
Thanks.
becomes, so that's what that opening idea is, but it can't open, it can't be opened by some man-made process. It doesn't work that way. The third chakra is the throat. Now, you know that spiritually speaking is by what comes out.
Yeah, what
It's
you
going to
say.
manifest that. Your heart then is the next, which aligns with green. And remember, we talked about green as being the 938 scale. So the idea that this kind of manifest or actually high intellects, I understand
yeah.
type thing.
Religious
Mhm.
feeling tinged with fear. One of the
Yeah.
greens.
Right.
Mm.
Yep. And then
And
so you, it's because remember, if you have, go ahead.
so I'm trying to read the other one. Sympathy. Is it synthetic? Is it synthetic? Okay. Very difficult for me to read in this light for some reason, but
Are you in a bad light?
sympathy. Yeah, I am. I'm in a bad light.
Oh, you're talking
Any,
the three. It's
yeah,
sympathy.
sympathy. Okay.
And then the other
Green
one
sympathy.
that's kind of close to the other one that's avocado is adaptability.
Adaptability. Okay, that's the word I couldn't read.
Adaptability. Yeah. So so with adaptability or green, and also green is in the spectrum. Well, it's right next to yellow and kind of bluish, but it's in the middle. So your green's kind of in the middle, which is a fall and spring type idea as well, kind of a
Well,
cross.
one of the khakis is deceit
Mm-hmm.
as well, which is interesting, because that's the basically what all the armies are all dressed up in khaki, and
Oh
it
yeah,
says here
khaki for sure.
khaki deceit, which
And
is
it's also
interesting.
the dirt color. Khaki is
Yeah.
also a dirt color. It's an earth tone, so it's kind of well within the Navy specifically. If you're enlisted like I was a petty officer, and
Isn't it interesting they use
yeah,
these words in English? Petty officer, like
yeah.
you're just a
So
petty officer.
so no matter how high you get, even the chief. I told this gun guy because the chief on the boat was after me because he thought I had taken some strawberry ice cream. I was I was re I was reenacting a scene from Mr. Roberts, and for real, I brought it up to command and control. We gobbled it up there, and then we gave a bowl to the guy on watch so he wouldn't hear the thing drop out the side. But going back to so this guy knew I did it, but he was the command master chief petty officer. So when he came up to me and he said, "Johnson, I know you did it," blah blah blah. I said, "Chief Petty Officer," and then I used his name. So I really gave it a hard P, and
Yeah,
he didn't like that because it's like because no
petty.
matter how high you are, you're still petty, and you
Isn't it
haven't figured
amazing?
out that that's what they think about you.
Exactly. Can you not? Can you like to me now as I'm 60 now, right?
Yeah.
And I can just see all of the stuff that I was once would have never noticed that, the fact they keep calling him chief petty officer, and
Yeah.
that's all you're going to be. That's all you're going to be. You think you're up there? No, you're not. You're just a petty officer.
Oh, and so I'm in the torpedo room. This is on the USS David R. Ray at the time,
Is that a destroyer?
1995.
A
It was
destroyer?
a destroyer, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm in the torpedo room and we're playing cards, and then all of a sudden, this is during general quarters. This is when you close everything up, all hatches, blah blah blah. So then all of a sudden, the hatch starts opening up, click 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 click, because then I have plenty of time to put the cards away, and then by the time the door opens, this chief petty officer comes in and he says, "Johnson, get over here." So I said, "Okay, yes." So I walk over there. He walks over to this hatch. He says, "What's wrong with this hatch?" And I said, "Well, it looks loose. Those dogs look loose." He's like, "Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, for the gunner's mates. That's not my hatch. That's my hatch." I pointed behind him, and then I said, "Am I
Did he give
dismissed?"
you the eye? Did he give you
Yeah,
those
and,
eyes? Like you've beaten me, and I'm going to
yeah,
get you some way or another down the
yeah,
track.
yeah. No, I kind of crushed his spirit at that point because he really thought he had me. And then I said, "Am I dismissed?" And he just looked at me, and I walked back to the. Yeah, I was kind of that guy, man. I never really took it too seriously,
I can
which
just
is why I
imagine.
was, yeah.
I can
Which
just
is why I
imagine
was, yeah. Go ahead.
that's ranking whatever your word
I
Johnson would have been
left
an absolute
E5, which is not very good.
a thorn in the side of the military back in the day when they
Yeah,
tried to have a go at him. Guaranteed.
yeah, I was. Yeah, so that's my my Navy stories. I got plenty more where that come from.
Hey, and they're
Those are
always
called sea
interesting.
stories.
I love them.
Yeah,
Sea stories.
yeah,
I love them. I love them. They're
yeah.
fantastic.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
Interesting.
Mm.
Not only sea like the ocean sea, but sea,
See,
because the Navy is an obviously. If you're in the officer corps, you're going to be some form of Mason. You know, just like
oh yeah.
officers are, because they don't interact with you. They don't on the ship. They're you're
Well, I
not
do believe they
buddies with
speak down.
anybody.
They speak down. I
Yeah.
had a friend of mine who was a civilian working in with the Navy, and he said to me one day, he said, "Look, I can't believe the way that the officers speak down to their staff." He said, "It's just like in the real world that would never happen. Someone will
Mhm.
get up and punch you in the head for saying that." But in the Navy or in any of the military forces,
In the
you are given
Navy.
you're given your position, and God help you, literally, if you're standing up to them, because they're welding that. It's a power of the sea. It's again we
Hmm.
talk about uh, the maritime law and things like that. It is completely unnatural to a human being to be treated that way. That
You know
someone's
what a
better
big
than you.
Yeah, you know what a big monkey off my back was? My buddy Larry, every time he used to see me, he would sing that part of that Billy Joel song that says, Davy, who's still in the
The
Navy and
Navy
probably will be for
will be for
life.
life. Yeah, that's a
And I
good.
was like, you
The
stop
piano
it.
man.
I said, I'm
The
going to prove
piano
you
man.
wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong if it's the last thing I
Hey, you
do.
did. Hey, you did.
I
Well, you
did.
did.
I was like,
I'll
yeah, I
guarantee
was
it.
one monkey off my back. He would sing that every time, though. I was like,
It's
you're killing me, Smalls.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Oh,
So,
look, I don't know how far we can keep going, but
oh,
you can keep going if you want.
dude,
It's
we kind of went off the beaten path, but those are tones and tunes, man.
I think we can
So
actually do more on this book, though. I would say in
sure.
the near future, because we need to go through. We've only just hit one chapter basically in the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Go through and do each, let's say 3 at a time of their thought forms and what they mean. And this is heavy stuff. There's no doubt
Mm,
whatsoever. And I do believe it means stuff. They know whoever
mm,
came up, and at the beginning of the book, I was
right.
telling you before we went on the show, they give some shout outs. This is 1901, 9/11,
Right, right.
to a lot of people that they got this from. This is not their ideas. They never came up with this. They got this from other people.
Well,
And they
there's a
actually do
yeah.
it. Go.
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say
You're
there's
the,
a lot of cymatics in there. Just you can just see right off the get go. You know,
oh, yeah.
just off the get go, and then you can also see that there's six directions, or even the intellectual conception of cosmic order is the Star of David, or the Jewish star,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
or the synagogue of Satan star. So it's all
Yep.
you kind of already, some of this stuff you already know. It's already it's already been hinted
Oh,
out
there's incredible ones.
for
So
sure.
because basically when I was looking, now I'll just have to mention this. Jim E.
Hmm.
that is on Dave J's side, is the nephew of a very, very, very famous pop culture icon, comic strip writer in the 60s who wrote a lot of incredible out there 60s stuff. What's his name? Why can't I remember his name? I think Jim's
From
surname, Crumb. Yeah, Robert Crumb. So Robert Crumb's nephew, and Robert Crumb is still alive, living in France as we speak. Robert Crumb's nephew is on the Dave J's site, and he's doing some artwork. And when I saw his artwork, I thought that's really good stuff. But I thought it's very reminiscent of the stuff that I'm reading in, or I read many years ago in thought forms. So I sent a list of a few of the photos in, and Jim said fantastic stuff. Dave said fantastic stuff, and then we ended up doing the show.
hmm
But there's definitely a real like some of the they look simple. They're not. It's not like what we call an artist of Bruegel or some of the other famous artists. This is just logos and symbols all throughout this book, and one of them is a whole lot of moons. It's crescents, sorry, flying towards you. But I counted them as 18. So there's always everything is a magic number. There'll always be a 9 or a 11 in their symbology. Stars, and you're right. The Star of David is 100% straight out in that thought form. A blue star below it.
It's two triangles just pushed together as well.
Pushed together.
If you just
that's a simple
that.
form. Yeah,
so, and then that's also two triangles would be the idea of 33. So when people say they wonder when they see these hoaxes on TV and it's the 33 Club, it's always the 33 Club. That's the 3G7 Club, and it's also the Star of David Club, and you know who they are. So whenever anybody, keep your eye on the prize. Don't lose sight of who they are, because their symbols are always put out right in front. You should never be confused.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Right,
hey, well, I think maybe we should probably close it up because we've done an hour and something or other. And I think but it's only, to be honest, we've only just touched the tip of this book. Mm-hmm. So I would say maybe we can do another show. Probably the next one we do next week.
You see the figure 2 is forms, sound forms or cymatics. So there's another figure, like even figure 2 we could spend. There's all kinds of good stuff.
Oh man, I think there's more. I'll just say, no, that's all good, man. I just think we could do thought forms 1, 2, and 3, and just go through all those. You look at the paintings. You tell me what you see, and I'll tell you what they say. They try and, but to be honest, Dave, I do think there's a lot of truth in this book. I just don't think that Bassett and Ledbetter are the kind of people you want to have looking after your children or even in your household. Even if they're quite long gone, sleeping away. But now, interestingly, this is really coincidental. Often I get a train back from Sydney to where I live. The winner is Sydney, and there is a photo of Cecil Ledbetter and Annie Bassett in the same platform that I get my train every now and then. They were there, so there's a weird time because I look at the place. It's still pretty much the same as it was probably 100 years ago. They've done a bit of work on the roofs and things like that, but Sydney is a very high-level theosophy stronghold. Has been for many, many years. I guess since the 20s or thereabouts, so 100 years. And they have buildings, including on this particular street, I think it's Sussex Street in Sydney, has a group of buildings that have never been knocked down, never been demolished. They're still there. The there's Steiner, who's part of this whole thing, and another person we should be talking about in the future. Mm-hmm. He was part of that gang, whether people like to know that or not. But the Anthropomorphical Society, and there's another word I can't say.
Astronomical?
No, it's Anthropomorphic. I'm not even going to try it.
No, I'm not even trying. Forget that.
It's out there. But so Steiner, the Theosophists, etc., have been in Sydney, taking over the media and still own, whether you know it or not. I'm talking about the public out there. They are still very powerful figures in the Australian media to this day. So when people say, they're just a bunch of crazy people, no, they're still running your media over here. So don't think Annie Bassett and Cecil Ledbetter's disciples are gone. They're still there, guaranteed. So yeah, Dave, if what we will do, I would say, is come back, because I think we've really knocked it out of the park with this one compared to the last one. Mm-hmm. And do another thing on thought forms, which I guarantee you now, you'll get people listening to this and going, I want to know more. And because it really is important to go through some of these drawings and what they mean, and only you can knock the truth out. So,
did you see that I had submitted my book, The Code of Creation, along with this book?
I saw that was fantastic. That was
the full
can
text.
you want to read a portion of it out before we go? And that was fantastic.
Yeah, I'll just I'll paraphrase what Gronk said. He said, Dave, your stuff was fabulous, fantastic, probably the best I've ever read. That thought forms was kind of it lacked an ending. It had no finish
Yeah, and
line.
you gave it, and so you thought your book gave it an ending, and I thought,
Yeah,
that's what I said. That's what I said to you back to you when you sent that. I said, that's probably quite right.
Yeah,
Probably quite right.
Yeah, so that I'll leave on the YouTube video. I'll leave a link to the full discussion so they can read it. But what I said is basically the synopsis. Gronk loved my stuff. Couldn't say enough good
Gronk
stuff.
thought that you were fantastic.
Yeah, that's funny. That was too funny.
Is it
Okay,
Grok?
Gronk,
Grok, and that's the AI
that's the
that
Twitter for the AI or for the
Twitter
X.
AI. XAI, yeah,
Yeah.
XAI, yeah. But
Yep.
I actually read what you thing, and I thought actually I agree with that.
Yeah.
That comparison.
Yeah.
They actually whatever it is, it nailed
Yeah.
it.
Oh
Nailed
yeah.
it, 100%.
Yeah. I gave it parameters. I said you have to tell it. Don't compare it to the academic standard. Compare it one to itself. So it's only so you have to tell it compare 1 to 1. I said if there's any doubt, toss it out. So I said you have to give it kind of explicit instructions on what to do and what not to do, and you have to basically tell it just read it for its own merit
and give me give me your what you think, and look, to be honest, what I read I would totally agree with.
Right.
And it said that the Besant and Ledbetter didn't give you any answers, but Dave J's book does.
Yeah, and that's freely available. I will leave a link for it. Freely available. It's worth every penny at that price point.
Fantastic, man. Hey,
all right, so I'll send them out.
We'll send them out, but next week.
Yeah.
I would say next week. I've got nothing that I can see stopping this. And we're going to do another couple of chapters, at least, of this incredibly important book. And anyone that's listening to this show would actually be going, "Yeah, I want to listen to that." And
nice.
we will do it. So send the bot out, and I'll speak to you after, dude.
All right, here we go.
Thank you for listening to Bongversations 31, guaranteed.
Yeah, we're going to send it out of the room. And